Hello everybody, welcome to this live stream. I'm gonna upload later another video where the other camera, which is standing over here, is filming the plant in front of the window, and another camera is also filming me. So you're gonna have later the live stream video and another video online where you can see that situation here best as possible. For those of you which do not know me, I'm Niall Sebastian Power Sieger. I'm one of the living humans who's able to communicate with creatures which have lived as human beings before. So ancestors of living humans, potentially your own ancestors. Wherever you are, if you watch that video, if you are a human, I'm one of the humans who is able to potentially reach your ancestors, communicate with them, and so on. And I do inform about universal communication, and I do that since a few years. I do inform about the communication methods creatures which have lived as human beings before can use to communicate with living humans. The reason why that tree in front of my window is getting filmed as well is very easy, because creatures which have lived as human beings before, so ancestors, can use the natural environment to present themselves and to communicate. They, for example, can canalize the wind and trigger the wind level. You see, today it's a good storm out here at the moment, and you see when I put my hand up, the whole tree did move more into that direction here. So also in a storm, they can use the same system to communicate with people like me, because I've learned to outread the weather if it's getting used specific for communication. If the weather is controlled by individual creatures which have lived as human beings before, is the key for your understanding, because what you see is weather control in a lot of videos I did publish. So the tree is becoming a little bit more quiet. I request now from creatures which have lived as human beings before, which do not have their own human body anymore, to send a high wind wave. Look at that, and directly you could see that a wind wave is added to the tree again. It's canalized to that tree, and you see a high shaking effect again, but very specific, where I did put my hand up. So that's for your better understanding. Even in a storm, in an already existing storm, I can start a communication with ancestors, and ancestors can, even in a weather situation, change the weather conditions and use wind for specific communication. I'm doing this live video, and if I look at humans, I want to be honest there. I cannot understand the species I belong to. I cannot understand the most humans, how stupid they are. Let me say it like that. And I want to be very clear there. I did invite for years that people which are sad because they are unable to communicate with their own ancestors can contact me, and I would try to help them for free. Not many humans did that. A lot of ancestors from other families contacted me, did produce video material to bring proof of their existence, to bring proof that they can use certain communication methods, and to invite their living family members to come to Bonn to communicate here with them directly, with a little bit of support from me. Well, sadly, I had to witness that the living humans do let their own ancestors down, because nearly none of these families did react to the fact that they were invited to them be able to communicate with their own family members. I look at the situation where I cannot understand anymore how stupid my own species is. The humans, living humans. So many are unable to communicate with ancestors. Some humans are able to communicate with ancestors. I'm one of them. And then I'm inviting everybody to contact me to try that for 3 years, and nobody is reacting to that. Nobody, nearly nobody, did react intelligent and specific to that like it was requested. And that's the important key. If there is a specific request, and if the people do not react specific, they failed. That's very simple. For example, if you want to buy a product, a Nike shoe, and somebody is telling you you can buy that at Foot Locker, and if you start to run to the bakery to get a Nike shoe, you lost. Because you did not react specific to the information. And that's what I had to witness regarding ancestors' communication for years now. For years. Many creatures which have lived as human beings before invited their living family members to contact me, Niall Sebastian Power Sieger, because they requested my help to help their living family members to learn the communication system. And many humans did not so. If the same humans are sad because they are unable to communicate with their ancestors, I think no, they are not even using the chance. If they get invited by their own ancestors and so on, they should be more sad that they are so stupid to not react if they have the chance to communicate with them. That's what I think by myself as a human, to be absolutely honest. And I just want to be honest there. Because you have to understand, I look at planet Earth, I see many people are sad because they are unable to communicate with their own ancestors. As soon as I make them the offer that I am able to communicate with ancestors, I would help them for free of charge. Do not cost them a cent, except the fact that they have to come to Bonn to a direct face-to-face meeting with me. To learn something, to learn how to communicate with their own ancestors. So I look at a planet where a lot of people do communicate, they are sad because they are unable to communicate with their own ancestors. And I'm one of the humans sitting here in Bonn, Germany for 3 years, inviting people to try to reach their ancestors here, and nearly nobody came. How sad, stupid, and fucked up is that? How stupid is that? There's another thing. When I produce data, so when creatures which have lived as human beings before, which do not have their human body anymore, and which are ancestors of other families, so not my direct family, they did produce video documentations in the past with me to reach their living family members, where they communicated by themselves that they do invite them to contact me, Niall. If the living family members do not react to that specific and do not contact me for such face-to-face meetings, of course I'm unable to help them. That means I got to know one of the ancestors of their family sad, because these creatures are sad that they are unable to communicate with the living humans in a way that the living humans, their own family members, can understand that. So a creature comes, contact me sad because he's unable to reach his own family members. Then the family members, the living humans, do not react to the invitation, and the other creature is leaving sad again. That's my very sad life I'm living since years, because I think living humans are just too stupid. Or they're not truthful to themselves. If you say you are sad because you are unable to communicate with your ancestors, and if you have heard I potentially could reach them and would help you, I tell you straight, if you do not contact me, you do lie to yourself, because you do not try everything to reach your ancestors. That's how I look at that. You do lie to yourself then, because you have a chance, you have an opportunity, and you do not react it, you do not use it. You could see that the wind level was getting more when I spoke that out. And for the people to be clear, a lot of ancestors do see it the same way as I said it. Regarding the fact that living humans do fail if they get invited to learn the communication with their own ancestors. Not regarding all the stuff I said before. To be clear, because there was a specific wind wave because creatures which have lived as human beings before did agree to that specific fact. I spoke out. Can you produce a little bit more wind again? And now you will see that the wind is getting triggered again. It was windy before, so let your eyes get used to it. Watch the tree very closely. And they're going to trigger the wind again now. One time they're going to send a wave in that direction, please, to make it clear to the people. And now you can see that these leaves and this part of the tree is moving to this side. Okay? That is specific communication, even in a storm. In that way, it is possible to solve also questions with ancestors. It's possible to ask questions as a living human, because they do not have a human body anymore, to identify them best as possible. I, as a human, I cannot understand when somebody like me is inviting people to try that. First of all, I cannot understand why nobody really did try that, except one woman, and she's living in Germany. A German woman, she did try that. Now she's able to communicate with creatures like the one she have missed. She have learned that in 1 hour. And since then she's able to communicate. That's not so difficult to understand. It shouldn't be also so difficult to understand for you. I cannot understand why I had to spend so much energy, why I could not find any support from living humans which would be intelligent and which would make sense with better equipment, some financial support, so on, if I do documentations where I try to let ancestors speak in a way that humans can understand that. I cannot understand why I live in a society where so many people do communicate they would be sad, because they're unable to communicate with their own family members, their own ancestors, and if they get invited, they do not come. They are so ignorant and fucked up that they even let their own ancestors down. That's how I look at that. I cannot understand why humans do cause situations that their own ancestors, even after they already communicated that they do exist and that they want to communicate, stay sad. Just because the living family members do not move and react. I, as a living human with a heart, cannot understand that. I, as a living human who feels love for his own family, cannot understand why other humans do behave so fucked up. And why they let their own ancestors down the whole time. I'm witnessing that since years. Since years. Then there's another thing, and this goes out to all the critics, which maybe have watched my documentations and so on. Today is Storm Klaus, it's called. And you can see the wind level is high and so on. A lot of critics do comment under the videos, that's normal weather. No, today that's a storm high, how the press published it. That's how they see the weather. To the critics, can you not see? Can you not think? Do you not understand? People like me, which are able to communicate with ancestors, we look at the whole natural environment as a tool we can use. They can use to communicate with us. There is nothing normal on this planet. It's stuff they can control, or I can control with them in symbiose. See, now it's more quiet again. Can you trigger the wind one more time for these critics to make clear that you can use, even in such a situation, the wind very specific? Have you seen that, to all the critics? To all the people which always write the critic comments, have you seen that? That's my question. Do your brain work? Have you seen that? Do your brain work good enough as that you can understand that it is action and reaction, as that you can analyze that? Or are you too stupid to do that? If you are too stupid to do that, if you can not imagine, you just have to analyze what you have seen instead of dealing with your fantasy and imagination. So is your brain able to think, or are you too stupid to analyze video material like this? Because if you realize then that you are too stupid, please stop to comment my stuff always negative with lies. Because if you say what I just presented to you would be impossible, it's a lie. You just saw the proof. It's that easy. If you cannot believe that natural environment can get controlled by other creatures, it's your problem. You are on the level of believing instead of practicing stuff. That's your problem, not my problem. You do not have the consciousness level to know that it works. Your problem, not my problem. You don't have the intelligence level to know how it can work and to organize situations that it works. Your problem, not my problem. And so on. So if you have so many problems, why are you so loud in the internet criticizing me, but to the critics? I did react always when I got criticized in the internet. If people wrote, for example, that can't be real, stuff like that. I always invited these people. If one of you ever would have been a real critical human, you would have come to see it with your own eyes and nothing else. That would be your level as a critic. Nothing else, not even the videos. You would say, if you would be really critical human, you would say, okay, I got invited to learn it by myself, to see it by myself, to get the lifetime experience. I'm gonna do that instead of writing further stupid comments. I'm gonna check if it works there where it's working, instead of sitting hundreds and hundreds of kilometers away and judging something wrong just because I cannot imagine it. So that's just why I demonstrated that to the critics. And to the critics, you should think about it. If you realize it can work, if you would learn that tomorrow, to communicate with ancestors like that, do I have a better life because of that? No. No. No, no. I just did help you. So I'm trying to help you here. That you leave your prison, which is your brain, which is officially not working well if you do not check things there where they're happening. To the people which are watching this live stream, hello again. I'm Niall Sebastian Power Sieger, and I have been in a bad mood in the beginning of this video. Because I had to experience so much bullshit, so much stupidity if I look at other humans. Things I just can see as stupidity. And I just explained why. And that is the cause why many ancestors said, that is the cause why many ancestors are unable to communicate with living humans. Not because they do not try. No, it's because a lot of living humans are too ignorant to give them a chance to speak out, to give them a chance to present themselves, to give them also a chance to fail in between in case something goes wrong. You could see how specific that communication can work because we demonstrated it to you. Me and the creatures which have lived as human beings before, which canalized the wind specific when I did request it. So today in the German media it's written it's Storm Klaus. Okay, that's how they called that storm. It's a stormy day, Storm Klaus. To all the media people, that's a lie you just do publish there if you say it's an ordinary storm, whatever. You have data presenting you that. You have my data created from other creators and me for you. I also have the question, when will the media start to inform people real? Like to give them some truthful information instead of lying to the people the whole time if you do have that knowledge that this system can work. For me, it is not possible that the main heads of huge media channels are unable to find such data like mine in the internet. That is not possible. So I'm asking myself, why I am as a human who's able to communicate with ancestors since a couple of years, why I'm born 1984 here in Germany, why I have been to a school system where I have not learned to communicate with ancestors. Why? It's the only question I have. Why was I not born as a human in Germany in 1984, and why I'm not grown up in a country where a lot of people were able to communicate with ancestors, and where I just have learned how I can communicate with ancestors, for example, in the school system? Because it would be possible, is the truth. What you have seen in this video, what you have witnessed, that creators use wind specific, the natural environment, to communicate with me. So first of all, for those people which have no idea, that can get used for communication from creatures which have lived as human beings before, so ancestors, to communicate with living humans. That can get used to solve open questions. For example, if you would come to Bonn and if it would be possible to reach one of your ancestors, and if you have questions regarding your ancestors, you could solve these questions with them directly, and they could use this system to solve your questions if you ask the right questions. You see that the wind level is going up and up and up and up. That these are creatures which have lived as human beings before, and they use a higher wind level specific when I speak something out to agree to stuff. So much to an ordinary storm called Klaus. There is none in this area, no matter what the news say. I want to speak a little bit to the Germans. See, I'm living in Bonn. This weather today will cause maybe some damage to the neighbors. Maybe the glass of a car will break. Maybe from the tree stuff will fall down, will destroy a window, stuff like that. I'm sitting since 3 years here, informing about the fact that creatures which do communicate with me use the natural environment every day, controlled, to communicate with me, sometimes also to attack me, is the truth. And I'm asking myself, how stupid are the people in Bonn that nobody did contact me for that reason? No one from the security structure. How can that be if weather is used, which can get also used as a weapon? So none from the police, nobody from the military, all of them are hiding. Even if I inform them that they should contact me, they are hiding. That's shameful. That's what I just can't tell the people of Bonn. That's how I look at it. What I had to witness the past years is shameful. So for the people, I'm gonna explain one thing again. The ancestors gonna agree with higher wind. They can use that system to communicate with living humans here in Bonn. Okay, that's why they make more wind. They can use it here in Bonn. And creatures which have lived as human beings before did communicate in the past that they are not always able to use the natural environment to reach living humans or to communicate with living humans. But here in the area they're able to do so because they have the support in the symbiose, also from other creatures. And they're triggering the wind now to agree to that stuff, that you understand that. It was a little bit more quiet in between when I spoke it out. Now I finished and they started to canalize more and more wind, and that's what you can see. That's an important information for all of you, because you should think. Please use your brain if you watch this video. Please use your brain. The internet connection for the live stream broke down just a few seconds ago. I look at the other camera. That will start again. I'm gonna speak to this camera. It is an important information, because if you miss your ancestors and if they cannot reach you where you live, You have the chance here in this area. Maybe you do not have the chance where you live. Maybe your ancestors do not have the chance to use the natural environment at that place where you live. That's important to understand. You have an open door here in Bonn, in this area, because they have the support here in Bonn. And because here is somebody who's living here, me, Niall, who could help you with that. It's important to understand. The live stream broke down, so I spoke to the other camera. That material is going to be uploaded later. I spoke out that ancestors cannot present themselves by using the natural environment all the time, everywhere, towards all the humans. But they have the symbiotic support here in Bonn. And you can see they trigger the wind strongly, because it's very important. If you miss one of your ancestors, yes, they can use the natural environment to communicate with you here in Bonn. And they agreed with the wind wave to the fact that maybe they cannot do the same stuff in the area where you live because they do not have the symbiosis support. And you can see that they're triggering the wind one more time and they're pushing the tree to this side. Very specific. Look at this. Have you seen that? It's important to understand, because it do not make sense to think, okay, they can do it here, so I'm gonna speak to my tree in front of my house, and if it's not working them, it do not make sense to judge the situation here, because the ancestors communicate the whole time. They're in a special situation here as well, because they have support in the symbiosis to present themselves, to control the natural environment. Support also from other creatures which are not humans. So the ancestor became quiet. Can you agree to that by triggering the wind a little bit more, so that we have that point one more time clear? Creatures which have lived as human beings before are in Bonn in the situation that they have the symbiosis support to present themselves, to communicate towards living humans like me and their own family members. But it's also true they cannot do that everywhere on planet Earth the whole time. There can be the situation where ancestors are unable to use the system in other places because they have not the symbiosis support. So, and for the people, watch the tree closely. Can you please shake the crown a little bit also and move that thing a little bit over here if you want to agree to that stuff. So the tree became more quiet. Now they're moving it over here as I requested it. You could see the specific wind wave going in there. For the people, if you watch communication by natural environment, these are videos. You can go back, watch it again. You have to understand the creatures which do not have a human body anymore. You have to watch the tree, not me. If you want to understand me, you have to listen to me. If you want to understand the communication, you have to learn to watch both together, closely, very closely. And that's why I'm saying you can go back in time. You can rewind, watch it again. I don't know if people are not intelligent enough to understand that. But me and other creators, we created a situation in Germany, here in Bonn, where people can try to reach their ancestors and their ancestors have the chance to communicate with them in a way that they can understand it. But I could not see in the past that people did understand it or did use that opportunity. And in that way, I had to witness in the past how a lot of families did let their own ancestors down because they did not react to a specific invitation. So one more time, can you trigger the wind again if it's correct that you can use the natural environment here in the area and ancestors can do that to communicate with living humans, but ancestors are not always and everywhere in the situation that they can use the system to reach their living family members. And you can see the wind level is triggered again, specific. That's why you see more movement. See that? See that? Watch that. It's going over here, specific. And again to the critics, that is specific weather control. If you cannot believe what you see, if you cannot imagine what you see, that's not an intelligence level. You are invited to come to Bonn to make the experience by yourself, to get a demonstration live, so that you can feel the wind on your skin in case it will happen outside. That you can see it, the huge scale with your own human eyes. That's to the critics, to the people which are always critical, but which are nearly deaf from their consciousness level, because they cannot even think that it would be possible. You are invited to get help. You are invited to get new knowledge. You are invited to make a new life experience. You are invited to be smarter tomorrow. You are invited to understand stuff you potentially think today it would be impossible. But you have to try. If you are very critical, it's the only intelligent thing you can decide is to be critical there where it's happening. But if you do not come, what's your judgment base? The illusion of what you think what would be possible and what not? Then you're always gonna be limited to your own imagination if you think like that. Very sad. Very sad. So to the people in general, not only the critics. Again, I'm Niall Sebastian Power Sieger. You are invited to contact me, that we can meet up for a face-to-face meeting here in Bonn, and I will try to help as much people as I can which want to contact their own ancestors. But if you do not try that, it's your fail. How much more data should people like me produce? How much more data? How much should I repeat the same stuff? And how often should ancestors from different families always have to communicate the same stuff until humans, which are unable to communicate with ancestors, do understand it? How often? That's what I'm asking myself. There's another aspect. I do invite people to try to reach their living family members here in Bonn, to communicate with them. And you have seen, yes, ancestors can use the natural environment to communicate with living humans. The nature is not always only nice. No, this system can get used as a weapon as well. To the ancestors, to the creatures which have lived as human beings before, which triggered the wind before, can you agree to the fact that you can use the natural environment also as a weapon to attack humans and to make a war, so to destroy a city? And if the humans do not understand its attack, they will think it's the normal weather clouds. So, and you could see the wind level was higher. Can you shake the crown for that a little bit so that the people do understand that? And you can see the clear reaction. They are pushing it over here, and they did shake the crown a little bit more, which is captured with this camera here. So specific communication again. So, and because the natural environment can get used as a weapon again, as a weapon towards living humans. And because I did produce a lot of data in the past, also data which is presenting to the public that I got attacked with the natural environment. Therefore, I want to explain to people something. See, if you want to reach your ancestors, you can try that in Bonn. If you wait for me to give you the guarantee that nothing could happen to you potentially, you never will get that. You as a living human, you have to decide by yourself if you want to take the risk or not. And for the risk, there's no calculation. An attack can happen or an attack cannot happen. I want to make that point clear because the natural environment is also a weapon system which can get used by some. But I want to make another point clear. You could get potentially attacked anyway from creatures which have lost their own human body and which have lived as human beings before in case they want to attack you. Maybe not by the weather, but they can connect in symbiosis to your human body and make you sick, ill, and stuff like that anyway. And if you can't see it's an attack, that will be for you an ordinary illness. Like that should have been ordinary weather, because you are blind, because you cannot identify what it is, and you cannot see and analyze the cause. So if a creature would attack you like that, you would get sick, you would go to a doctor, and he would analyze that's a normal illness, because he also do not see the cause. So if people are afraid, because there's data online which is also presenting the public the fact that I, Niall, as a High King, sometimes get attacked by other creatures which have lived as human beings before, which are using the natural environment to attack me. That did happen in the past, that was documented and published. These specific attacks were specific attacks against me, not against other humans, even if there was damage caused, which is also maybe damage for other humans, is correct. I want to make the point clear. I invite people, they can try to communicate with their ancestors. I cannot guarantee the safety for other people. What I can say is that in the past, when I presented, for example, when I met somebody in Bonn, and when I showed these people how the communication system is working, if ancestors did communicate with them, for example, these people got not attacked. The most of them got not attacked. One woman, a creature which have lived as a human being before and which do not have a human body anymore, went on her nerves for a short moment, as far as I can see that. So, but what I want to make clear, do not lose yourself in the data I'm publishing in general. For the civil societies, it's more important to understand you have a chance to be able to reach your own family members which have lost their human body here in Bonn. And I would help you if you want to try that, but you do have to contact me for that. Regarding documentations I did produce in the past, where one creature after the other, in one documentation after the other, one creature after the other which have lived as a human before, did identify themselves, did identify their families, and did produce video documentations to reach them. These documentations you already can find in the internet. So I did produce over 3 years documentations like that, where these creatures also use the natural environment to identify themselves, to communicate towards the people which are watching the videos, to reach their living family members, to invite them to come to Bonn and to contact me, so that they then can learn how this communication system is working, and that they get a little bit help from somebody who's communicating like that since years. But because none of these living families did use that chance, except one woman from Germany, Sabine is her name. But all the others did not use what was communicated where they were invited to. And because of that, I'm not going to produce 100 more documentations with 100 more individuals which are sad, which have lived as human beings before, and which want to reach their living family members with such video material, because my experience is that the living humans do not react to that, how it is requested. And that's the only way they should react to that if they want to use their chance. It do not help to sing about it. It do not help to write an article about the situation and all of that if the people are not using the chances. And what I had to witness regarding the data I did produce over years in the internet is that people were discussing about it, were singing about it, a lot of stuff, but they did not use the chances which were communicated. They did even let their own ancestors down and did sing instead about it. How sad is that? How sad is that? So you could see in that live video, I'm very angry because I had to witness that inside. It's true. It's true, I cannot understand that. When my mom died, which means she lost her human body because only the human body died, my mom exists today, I'm able to communicate with her. If she lost her human body, I was unable to communicate with her for a moment. I did everything I could to be able to communicate again with her because I love her. And I cannot understand living families which let their own ancestors down just because of any potential risk, because the planet Earth could get used as a weapon chamber, for example. I do not understand that kind of thinking. Since when people do not take any risk anymore for their own family members? Since when is that the situation on planet Earth? Because that's the situation I had to witness. How sad is that? How endless sad is that? And how endless painful is that for the ancestors which are trying to reach their living family members? And which cannot do that because the living families do not react if people like me try to help. If ancestors present themselves, communicate clearly and invite their own family members. How sad is that? That these people just do ignore their own ancestors because they do not react like it was specific requested from their own ancestors. See, I loved my mom. When she lost her human body, I did fight until I could communicate with her. If I would have met someone who would have invited me to learn how to communicate with her, I would have been there after 5 minutes. It's that easy. I would have tried that. I had to witness here over years a situation I just cannot understand, and I want to make that clear again. Because I cannot understand your behavior in the end. If you belong to one of the humans who's unable to communicate with your own ancestors, and if you tell yourself you are sad because you are unable to communicate with your ancestors, I have to tell you, you are lying to yourself potentially because you do not try. If people are in the internet which are communicating, they are able to communicate with ancestors. And if they produce data like me, where other creatures even control the natural environment to communicate towards living humans. And if you do not even try that chance, how it is specific requested, then you maybe just lie to yourself because you do not try hard enough. You do not try what is specific requested to get the help you maybe need to then be able to communicate with your own ancestors. And that is totally stupid if you miss your ancestors. It is totally stupid. The other thing is, what I had to witness is that a lot of people are just too ignorant. A lot of people in the internet, that's what I realized when they come in contact with my data. They think everything is impossible. They judge wrong. They close down the doors because they judge wrong. And then they even in the communication try to attack me because they cannot understand the data. That's ignorant, stupid, and weak. So I had to witness a lot of sad stuff in the past years. And I could not imagine before how hard it would be to explain other humans easiest things. Like, if you want to reach your ancestor, contact me directly. That's a very easy point. And it seems to me people did not understand that over a couple of years now. Because as I said, some people came in contact with my data. Then they were singing about it. They were talking about it. They were writing articles about it. But no one of them used the specific chance to communicate with their own ancestors like it was communicated from me here in Bonn. How stupid is that? Can you agree that that is stupid? That's the question I have regarding towards the creatures which have lived as human beings before and which are canalizing the wind and controlling the wind. And you can see they did produce more wind over here. I request if you can agree that stupid behavior from the living humans. Can you please push that tree a little bit in that area over here? So can you canalize the wind from the one side into this direction so that the people can see clearly? And can you start to do so now? And for the people, please watch closely the tree now to see the reaction from the creatures which have lived as human beings before. They're gonna react now. And my question is easy. Is it stupid from the living humans how they do behave, that they do not use chances when they are communicated clearly, chances like I did speak about? You can see that, okay, if the answer is yes, please make it clearly with the strong wind wave. And now they're sending the strong wind wave. See that? How specific that is? See that? You can even hear roof pieces back there because they're out there because they're using so much wind. Okay? So that's how ancestors do look at their own families often. They have a lot of understanding because they have lived as humans as well. But they look at the behavior of their own families and they have to judge it as stupid behavior because they just do not try. And how sad is that for me as a living human who is always in contact, often in contact with creatures which have lived as human beings before, which would like to be in a better position, which would like to be in the position to be able to communicate with their living family members again, but which have to witness that whatever they try to communicate, the living family members do not understand it, do use not the easy chances which are communicated, the specific chances. That's the point. See, that's the point. How sad is that? Is what I'm asking all of you which are watching this video. This could be potentially one of your ancestors. Hear that? I'm gonna use that camera. You will find the video later in the internet to present you the area, the environment here, that you later can see everything. Okay? So I'm gonna film the area one time. You see in the other video view how big that tree is compared to houses which are standing in the background. So that you get a better idea how huge that tree is, how much energy they use if they react to questions so specific. So I want to speak about another point, which is also a total failure from a lot of other living humans which have heard that I was in contact with their family members, with creatures which have lived as human beings before, which do belong to their own family. See, if I produce a documentation with a creature which have lived as a human being before, but which do not have a human body anymore, which is using the natural environment to present himself or herself, in the videos they do communicate clear stuff. Like they requested from the living families to send, for example, questions, test questions, that I them, as a living human who did not know them before, have the possibility to identify them better, to let them self-identify themselves better by solving questions their own family members have. By solving questions to prove their identity. And I requested that in many documentations I did produce in the past. the most families did not even send these questions. Not even that. How sad is that? How sad are all the documentations you find online? How sad are all these creatures which did communicate that they want to see their living family members here in Bonn, that they want to see, that they request from the living family members that they please should contact me, so that these creatures have the chance in the future to communicate with their living family members here in Bonn. And how sad is it that all of these creatures have been let down because the living family members do not react to that and did not react to that. How sad is the data are produced over years? How much more videos should be online where creatures which have lived as human beings before communicate clearly that they would like to communicate with their living human family members, where they do invite them to take specific action to be in the position in the future to be able to communicate with them. And how sad is it that I had to witness that none of these living humans did react correct? Nearly nobody except one woman in 3 years. Sabine is her name. In more than 3 years. How sad is that? How sad is your behavior potentially by not trying to reach your ancestors towards your own ancestors? And how antisocial and fucked up. Towards your own family members. This was nearly an hour live stream, where you could see that the natural environment was specific controlled by creatures which identified that they have lived as human beings before. By doing so, you could see clearly the principle of this communication with action and reaction. Action is, for example, I can ask questions like you could, and they can react and solve questions. Now you have seen that video. You, the people which are watching this video. You do know I exist, a living human who is potentially able to communicate with one of your ancestors. And you are invited to try that in Bonn, to contact me for a face-to-face meeting and to solve your own questions with your own ancestors after you received a little bit help from me for free. My question is, if you are unable to communicate with your own ancestors, do you gonna let them down or do you gonna try? Do you gonna ignore your chance and the chance your ancestors have? Or do you maybe not gonna react and your ancestors do not have the chance? It's depending on you. All of you which are watching my videos, because it's you. The people out there which failed to use the chances when they got invited to communicate with their own ancestors, or to use the chance to try to reach them here in Bonn. If you have seen that video, if you have someone you miss from your own family, you can contact me, you can come to Bonn, we can try to find them, to reach them, and then you'll be able to communicate with them. Will you do that? Or will you do anything else, everything else, and will you not use that chance? It's you, the living people, the ancestors are waiting for. The creatures which did produce data in the past, which did invite their living family members, the reason why all these documentations are online, where natural environment is used so specific, like you have seen it here in the videos. These creatures wait for their living family members and they fail You fail if you have ancestors, if you miss them, if you really tell yourself you would like to be able to communicate with them, and if you hear from people which are able to communicate with ancestors, if you do not try how they specific tell you what you can try, you fail. Not them, not your ancestors, you by yourself as a human. If you then keep going, walking through your life and telling yourself, I'm so sad because I'm unable to communicate with them or with her, people you have lost, you do lie to yourself. Because you do not use the chances. That's what I'm telling you as a human who's able to communicate with ancestors. You could see the reaction. I explained to you the system. Do not lose yourself in the complex universe. No, understand there are few points. You can reach ancestors, you can try to reach ancestors by contacting Niall Sebastian Power Sieger, because he's able to communicate with ancestors and they are also able to reach other ancestors and to find other ancestors from other families. Here you can learn in Bonn the communication system. If we have found your ancestors, then here in Bonn you maybe will be able to communicate with them. Do you want to try that? These are the important informations. Do not lose yourself in all the other informations you can find in that universe here, because the universe in general is a little bit too big. But your chance is here. Your chance is easy. Your chance would be normally simple to understand. Should be simple to understand. The question is, what do you make out of it? I was sitting here for years and waiting for people to understand simple stuff and to use their chances, and a lot of people did not. And that's something I cannot understand anymore. If you say, or if you think that what you have seen in this video can't be real or so on, no, you have seen the video, that is a real situation. That is easy. See the wave? Zack, yes, true, boom. Specific, a wind wave came to agree, because creatures which have lived as human beings before agreed to that fact. So if you think what you see would not be possible, you are invited to contact me, to get your life experience here in Bonn. To get proof instead of losing yourself in any speculations and any limitations because your human brain think something would be not possible on the planet Earth, which is an illusion anyway for people like me on my level. So, but please understand, I'm living a life, and that is also true. You cannot understand easily if you are not connected on such a high level with creatures which have lived as human beings before. But you should not try to understand my whole life. No, you should try to understand your chances. You should try to use that chances if you want to help yourself there a little bit. That's what I think regarding my complex data. Again, this video is about that all the people are invited, all the humans which do see this video are invited to contact me, Niall Sebastian Power Sieger. You can find me in the internet. You can just send me a Facebook message. Niall, can we meet up in Bonn? I would come, and then can we try in Bonn to reach my grandma, who have lost her human body, my granddad, and so on. Can we try that? You're invited to send me that question and I will reply to that. And then you're invited to come to Bonn in case I have enough time. And then we're going to try that. And you are invited to learn how to communicate with your own ancestors. But the question is, do you gonna use that chance? Do you gonna try something new in case you are unable to communicate with ancestors? Or are you so limited because you do limit yourself so much, and by that you do limit the option of your own ancestors a lot? And that's very sad if I have to witness that. And I had to witness that often in the past. This is my opinion. So again, please understand what this video is about. I also did speak to the critics a little bit, but please do understand this video is one of many where me and these creatures which have lived as human beings before just try to make it clear to you, the people which are watching the video. Please contact Niall Sebastian Power Sieger because he's able to communicate with ancestors. And the next point is ancestors can use the natural environment here in Bonn because they have the symbiosis support. That means potentially if you live in England and if you go to the tree in front of your house tomorrow to try grandma, please can you make wind? And if you're not going to see anything, you can understand maybe that's logical because ancestors just communicated. They cannot present themselves and communicate like this everywhere. The question is, do you gonna use your chance there where it's possible? That is the main question to all the people which are watching the video. And if you really miss someone, what is holding you back to try that? I don't know. What's more important? The one you miss and you would like to be able to communicate with them, or the stuff which is holding you back in your mindset? I'm gonna end this live video. That was over an hour now. Over an hour. On my Facebook timeline, which is Niall Power Sieger at the moment, I did post the weather forecast for today, the news. Storm Klaus. You have seen it's not a storm for me. That is a storm, yes sir. It's controlled weather. Because I'm in contact with the creatures which can control the weather. And the weather reality on planet Earth. So there is no ordinary weather for me. There have been no ordinary weather in my life very long. And people can understand that. Because that is my level. And if you want to try to understand me and what creatures like your ancestors potentially can do to communicate with you, for example, you have to understand that. So to the creatures which have lived as human beings before, which did control the weather, can you do it one more time just to be specific, and then afterwards I'm going to end the video so that the people can understand that. And they're going to trigger the wind and they're going to push the wind from here to this side again, and you can see the wind was going in there and pushing the tree how I requested it into this direction. And now it's getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And with this, the creatures which have lived as human beings before did present you again how specific that is. How often? That's the question I have to the critics, because some critics do comment my videos in the internet. How often should I present you that stuff? How often should other creatures demonstrate that to you before your intelligence level allow yourself to understand that's real? And very sad that you guys are so slow is what I'm telling you. So bye-bye to you, the creatures which did canalize the wind for the moment. And bye-bye to the people which have watched that video. I'm gonna put it online. This is the live stream video where I'm pointing my finger at right now. Here, this one, this camera. And there's another camera down here. And the other camera, that's gonna be the data which is online later. And that camera is also the data which is gonna be online later. You're gonna get that in a split screen. So you have the live video, plus you have another video where you can check this view, where you always can rewind, where you hear the sound as well, and another camera where I was filmed as well, and the tree as well.